Okay, hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon. I'm Kelsey Woodward, the Content Marketing Manager for GiveSmart, and these circumstances are uncharted to say the least, but we are finding our way, and I think that today will be a great way and full of insight on how we can make these fundraisers that we already know work in our new normal, as well as some fresh ideas to fundraising as well. So we have two lovely speakers today, Erin Phillips, the Director of Client Services here at GiveSmart, and Brandon Steck, Director of Marketing. Both have years of fundraising experience from both their careers and personal lives and bring us deep insights into what we are currently seeing across the fundraising landscape. So Erin and Brandon, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, this will be fun.
Cool. So just a couple of housekeeping bits for everyone. We anticipate going around 45 minutes today, and we will be taking questions as we go. So you'll see the question feature in the right-hand side of your screen, and feel free to pop questions into there, and we will address them as we go. If they're relevant to the topic, if they're kind of general, otherwise questions, we will take them at the end. So don't think that we're ignoring you, but we'll take them at the end. And this is being recorded today. So we also will be sending out the recording in our follow-up email this evening. And so next, I just want to point out a few opening notes about summer. And so do not take the summer off is basically what our message of today is. So we are going to see the fall be quite saturated with events and different campaigns, you know, given everything that has happened at the first half of 2020. And we're going to see a lot of organizations trying to make up from the spring. So everything we cover today will be campaigns that you can run this summer while your donors are still engaged and before they are spread too thin in the fall season. In today's agenda, we're going to cover live campaigns, virtual campaigns, as well as hybrid campaigns. And so just to start, so Brandon, when you and Erin today say live fundraiser, what do you guys mean?
So when we're talking about a live fundraiser, we're looking more at the events, the different people together. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like this photo. We're going to talk about this new normal, but that's the sentiment of a live campaign versus, you know, just thinking it's not just galas. This is thinking beyond that.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So what we're going to do is we are going to launch into just a quick poll first to get a feel for what everyone has going on at the moment. So are you planning to run a live fundraiser this year? Yes, we already did. Yes, maybe you will this fall or winter. You decided to host a different type of fundraiser. No, all live fundraising for this year has been canceled, or you're still undecided. So if everyone could go ahead and weigh in on that poll. And while folks do that, Erin, could you tell us what you think that we'll see this fall with live fundraisers?
Sure. Yeah, I think this fall we'll see a wide variety, but particularly the shift towards a hybrid approach where you might have a group of people in person and others participating from home. So that mixed in with still our virtual events. And not only so that we can be inclusive of all comfort levels, but also, you know, we're still trying to tap into this broader reach of folks that will help us exceed our goals.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I'm going to close that poll, share the results. And okay, so it looks like we are seeing 23% undecided, 33% are planning to run some sort of live fundraiser this fall or winter, 18% decided to host a different type, 16 have canceled live fundraising altogether, and 10 were able to squeeze something out probably earlier this year. So Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this coincides very well with what Erin was talking about. It's, you know, a lot of people are moving to the fall and winter, and we need to figure out how are we going to pull this off. And I think we're going to address a lot of this. So I'm excited to dive in.
All right, great. Okay, so kicking us off with outdoor sports tournaments, Brandon.
It's funny you say kicking off. It's like you planned that. As we look at what's going on in the world here, we do know youth sports, and different tournaments are starting to pick things up. I have friends telling me, hey, softball is going to happen. So we're getting excited about the late spring or late summer, not spring, late summer, as we're looking at getting people out into the fresh air, having some friendly competition. Aaron, I know we see a lot of different tournaments, but this pay to play benefit tournament is definitely something to look at, as there's a way to safely have this outdoor activity, allow for social distancing still, as a lot of these sports can accommodate that. And the organizations that are running these have already some standards in place. So doing a entry fee for a team to participate, and allowing sponsors who maybe couldn't participate with you this spring to sponsor t-shirts or sponsor a team in general is a great way to have that live component. Aaron, anything to add to this one?
Yeah, I think that's great what you're mentioning in terms of the fee. A team can pay a fee to participate, or with your sponsors, maybe you're making t-shirts. You can sell the t-shirts to the participants and put your sponsor's logo on the back. So lots of creative ways to get revenue out of those.
Yeah, for sure. And if anyone's looking for extra softball players, I need to get more active is what I'm being told. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about what's going on maybe on the water. I kind of take this picture as a great way to look at different things to do on the water if you're by a lake or the ocean.
Yeah, I'd love to be there. Boat cruises and boat meetups, it's not something that we've traditionally seen a lot of in the past, but one thing we've been noticing is that these charters and day trips have been doing really well in auctions. So just an idea, why not tap into that on a broader scale? So actually hosting your fundraiser as a boat meetup, or if you have a donor that could do a charter and maybe host a small event there, just another way to host your event on the water, outside, following social distancing rules, and be able to do some of those sponsorship opportunities or online auctions in that aspect as well.
Yeah, I think the theme is get out, but be safe here. And it's nice to, when you have the opportunity and you have a community that's already doing some of this. 4th of July, obviously, there's going to be a lot of that going on, but there's opportunities to create an event around that. And that's what's nice about some of the creativity you can use. Another way to look at kind of gatherings that are socially distant, but also incorporating some of your local community is a local picnic or a tasting session where restaurants can open up outdoors or outdoor there. If you're in the city, they can have tastings right outside their facilities where, as a community, you can support your local restaurants as they're getting reopened, they're getting things figured out here, and have a tasting event and get people together, and a part of the proceeds would go back to your organization. Work with those organizations if they traditionally had given to your auction and you weren't able to do that this year, or that's delayed. Look at setting some type of a tasting event together. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can do a low-key one, something fun that gets the families out, allows people to get out of their house, because we all know getting out of the house is fun right now. And then picnics. One of the cool things about a picnic is you have your square blanket on the ground, so you know your space. There's an easier way to kind of keep your distance, let everyone feel safe while they're doing that, but also having that engagement, having the ability to come out and enjoy the weather, support your cause. If you're a humane society, bring the dogs and the cats and the animals that are up for adoption. Have some engagement there, have some fun with that, really create that atmosphere and allow people to get those thoughts. And I know you love to silent dance, so I'm going to toss this one over to you.
Yeah, this is a fun idea. Again, a unique one that we don't see very often, but a fun thing that you can do this summer would be a silent disco. So for those that aren't familiar, basically you have a couple different channels. People can listen to whatever DJ or genre they want, and they're putting on these headphones and they're dancing. And it's funny because, sometimes if you go on vacation and they have theme nights or activities, I was on one once and this was the most popular event by far. Everybody wanted to get up and participate in this. So again, like Brandon said, a way to get people outside. You can do, offer a VIP ticket with this where maybe they get a bottle of champagne, or you have some preferred seating for them. So if they don't want to dance, they've got a place to sit. So just getting creative, getting people outside and moving.
For sure. I've also seen this with line dancing, if that's more your speed or your style. It was pretty entertaining because it was blind and silent line dancing. So there's a lot of creative ways incorporating music and, you know, bringing people together in that aspect. Kelsey, any questions for us on any of this?
I guess I'm just thinking about not blind. Wait, did you say it was also blind line dancing and silent?
People wore blindfolds and they had an enclosed space. I'm not making this up.
Okay, that sounds like a disaster.
It was, I mean, they had people making sure no one fell over each other, but it was line dancing. So you had your line that you were walking in. You don't have to do it blind. It was just an idea. But no, it's a fun way to get people to feel a little bit more comfortable when they aren't traditionally dancing in public.
Yeah. So we do have a question about picnics that came in about where can picnics be held? Public parks may not allow.
So the nice thing is, you know, a picnic can be held really even in a neighborhood. You know, if you have your community wants to support you in some way, you can have people who have larger yards host a smaller picnic. It doesn't have to be in a park. I know in my neighborhood there are areas that are just open grass fields that people can congregate. You can do backyard picnics. So think about having a tent set up or something that's kind of like a hosted party.
Okay, cool. And we have another question about silent discos, like as in the photo that we are looking at. Where do the headphones come from for the silent dance party, and how is that technically achieved?
That's a good question. I'm sure just a quick Google search will probably find you something. It's becoming a lot more popular in the States. I think this started as really an international thing, but we're seeing it pop up. I think even Coachella had a big silent disco one year. So I'm sure there's places that can rent these out.
Okay, cool. All right, so next we're just going to do another quick poll. So before we get into our next section, it is going to be, have you run a virtual fundraiser already this year? Yes, no, but we are planning to, no, and we don't plan to, or unsure. So here we go. If everybody can weigh in on this poll. I know with the live fundraisers, we're seeing things different. Again, keep in mind that all of this really varies by location, depending on the state that you're in, whether you're in a small town, a rural area, or a city. These are all factors. And so these are just sort of things on a general basis that we are seeing across the country. So while everybody continues to weigh in, Brandon, can you tell us a bit more about the shift to virtual fundraising that we have seen in the market in the last couple of months?
Yeah, I'm sure many have been able to attend some of our success webinars and how we're talking about outside the room, but also the pivot to virtual. We are really seeing a trend, but also people are starting to figure out that they have to do something right now. And that's really great to hear because there are ways to accomplish that. We're seeing more and more creativity, which is what we're trying to share continuously. And that collaboration that we're seeing across organizations has really brought about some really wonderful ideas, campaigns, and really some stories that obviously on the marketing side, I get to tell them all the time, but really some great stories to hear about. So people are starting to figure out that there's a way to engage virtually. It's not the end all be all, but there is a way to kind of build that camaraderie.
Definitely. And so, okay, Erin, what are your thoughts on these poll results?
Yeah, these are really great. I love the big bucket and the no, but we are planning to. The yes, that makes perfect sense. We've already seen a good handful of these. The unsure group, hopefully these webinars are helping. Like we've talked a little bit about, the fall is going to be saturated, so it doesn't hurt to do something this summer. And then hopefully that 6% in the no, we're not planning to, even if it's something little, we want to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment. So it doesn't have to be a big production or a live stream. Even if you get, something that would be a great raffle prize or silent auction, it doesn't hurt to do something now.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. So let's get into it. So we'll see what we mean when we say virtual a little bit more in this next section. But basically, this picture shows someone doing VR, and when we say virtual, we are not necessarily seeing VR quite as commonplace with fundraising yet. But last fall, I did attend an event that had an immersive video experience that took donors on their trip to fulfill their mission with them. So I'm just curious if those of you on the call wanted to participate with a quick raise of hands. How many of you have seen VR at a fundraising event so far? Okay, a few hands. Okay, not expected, or yeah. Oh, okay, quite a few. So interesting. I don't think it's like quite, where we are headed, but we're going to see more of that. So I'll be interested, just kind of as a general thought, as we go forward. So anyway, we could all take some innovation notes from Elon Musk and his virtual world. And speaking of that, we will get to hybrids shortly. But Brandon, kick us off with some instant buy items and how that ties into virtual campaigns.
For sure. So we use instant buy here today, especially as kind of a term that's more anything that's available for purchase, point of purchase right away, with the profit of that purchase going towards your organization. So essentially anything other than really bidding on an auction or making a donation, because those are different types of giving. So as we jump in, we'll give a few examples of instant buys, and we're going to start off with the wine poll, one of my favorite things. But Erin, I'm going to let you talk about that and kind of what a wine poll is and how to accomplish that virtually.
Yeah, when we first started the shift to virtual, I think everybody was like, how in the world am I going to pull off this wine poll? But we've seen a ton of them. So it's very easy to set up. Like Brandon, you were mentioning, it's just a simple instant buy item, or you could even set it up as like a raffle type item through the GiveSmart platform. Generally, you're selling a limited number of bottles. So let's say you get 50 donated from a local liquor store. You can label those bottles. So, they're sitting in your office or your school or church, and you're labeling them, 1 through 50. And as donors come to the site and they purchase one or multiple, you can then designate which number that they're getting, or even if it's set up as a raffle through the GiveSmart platform, we'll assign them a number. So let's say they buy number 5, they're getting the bottle that's associated with that. And generally the wine is worth or more than the price that they're paying. So let's say it's $20 per bottle, but you could get a bottle of wine that's worth up to, let's say, $150. So you throw a couple expensive ones in there and you'll have a good amount of success.
One funny story, and many might have heard this story on one of our webinars, is one of the organizations, and I believe they're in Atlanta, they had their wine poll and they actually sold more tickets than they had wine bottles donated. They anticipated a certain number. So he had to go out to the liquor store and buy a handful more to accommodate. A very good problem to have, but the appeal obviously was there, and they were able to really promote it through social. There's a really great, social engagement behind what they did. But these do very well virtually, and you can set up pickups and you can set up some different ways to make it accommodate. So as we look at other games of chance, there's this general term, and starting off, just remember to always look at the rules in your state on raffles, because every state is different. We work in all 50, so we can't cover all the rules for everyone. But raffles also can be treated as games of chance. So a poll like a wine poll is a little different, where everyone gets something. And similar to a wine poll, selling wine, again, make sure you check rules. But as we're looking at games of chance, you can be creative, and there's a lot of examples. We have several blogs on these, but this is a low barrier to entry, and I emphasize that because there's a lot of people that maybe want to support your cause, but they can't afford $100 ticket to a wine poll, or they can't afford to normally come to your events, but they want to support. They can buy a $5 or $10 or $20 raffle ticket. and get a prize potentially. You know, there's like that chance, which is always nice to have, but that engagement allows you to then build that donor and, you know, really create that that donor engagement, that donor experience. So then they're involved and they're supporting you in some way.
Yeah, I have a quick question here, Brandon. So someone is asking, can you explain how you would feature a wine pool? Is this considered an instant buy?
So we've seen it both ways. I think, Erin, you're probably more the expert though.
Yeah, we've seen it both ways. Either an instant buy item where you're selling, again, let's say your limit is 50 bottles, so your quantity is 50 and you're selling them at $20 a piece. That's very easy to set up. Or the other example we gave is set it up as a raffle type item. Same concept, limited number, set price, and then with the raffle setup, they get a number that's associated. So that's where that correlation with the bottle and the number comes into play.
Yeah, you could always assign, you know, the numbers as people come in, you know, if there's a quantity that's manageable. One of the things that, you know, really, you know, we're starting to see is we have a lot of data on different types of campaigns like this, and I'm starting to work with customers on an exercise called our fundraising success worksheet. So as we're using the data to really show, okay, this is what people traditionally charge for this, this is about how many they usually sell, it allows us to think about how can some of these different pieces help us bridge the gap, because, you know, not, you know, one single campaign here might not fulfill the entire gap that you're trying to make up for, but there's an opportunity to piece together, kind of like the grocery store method that we talked about in a previous webinar, piece together several different things that help make that gap smaller, and being creative. And there's, you know, low cost or low barrier to entry items that allow more people to get involved. And then you never know when that $5 donor wins the lottery, you know, knock on wood, we hope that person is out there. We have them in our funnel and they're already engaged. So just think about that as you're looking at the price tag on some of these things. Erin, I'm going to let you talk about the golden ticket, which is a type raffle.
Yeah, this is my favorite one to discuss when somebody asks for creative ideas. It's really not all that creative, but it makes a good amount of revenue. So a golden ticket, and sometimes it's called different names, is generally where you have a higher priced raffle ticket, but a limited quantity. So for example, you have 100 tickets that you're going to sell and they're $100 each. So generally, if your prize is good enough, you'll see those sell out. So that's an easy $10,000. So we see this a lot with your golden tickets, and maybe you get to choose one of the trips that you would generally put in your auction. So let's say you have 4 different destinations. Whoever wins that golden ticket gets to pick one of those trips. So, you know, if I'm paying $100, but I know only 99 other people are also paying $100, I have a pretty good chance of winning that trip. So I'm willing to pay that amount. Other things we've seen are like designer purses. So this is a little bit about knowing your audience. So is it, you know, are we targeting our young professionals board or a women's board? That might help determine what the prize of that golden ticket is. And then again, that's just an instant buy item. 100 tickets is your quantity, $100, and you know, hopefully you see that sell out and make that good chunk of money.
Yeah, and what's really cool about those is you could also, we've seen people who had live auction items that they couldn't sell because they maybe weren't able to run the virtual. You could do it as kind of a best of live auction or raffle as well, where people can win their choice of the live items that maybe weren't sold, or you had extras, or however that works. It's really a nice way to incorporate some of those larger donors and maybe people who can afford it.
Right.
And then there's these cool experiences. We're starting to see people trying to get out and do more of these things in the smaller groups. So sign-up parties seem like a perfect fit. Erin, can you tell us a little bit about how some of these work? And again, these are obviously easy to do virtually, right?
Yeah, sign-up parties have been around for a long time. Generally, we see them a lot with schools, where you might have, you know, a teacher is going to host a cooking party after school, and the first 10 kids that sign up, you know, it's $20 each, they get to join this party. But this summer, we're seeing things like garden parties. So, you know, you're selling, maybe it's 20 spots or 10 spots. for $50 each. And the first 10 people that sign up, or 5 couples that sign up, they get to go to somebody's house, again, probably outdoors, and they can participate in this party with their other peers. So again, it's very simple to set up on the GiveSmart platform. What you do here is you have your limited quantity for whatever your party is, your set price that you're charging for that. And then we even have a way to enable where the participants can see who else has signed up. So sometimes when you have several of these parties, you kind of want to know, is my friend going? And that will, help entice you to also sign up for it.
Yeah, and you're probably wondering why we have a whale on this picture. We're also seeing more of the whale watching, sailing, fishing classes, things like that. Aaron really loves garden parties. I love whale watching. Granted, I'm in Chicago. We don't get to see whales other than at the aquarium. And even there, not as much. But, really the sign-up party, or the essence of it, is a small gathering. Things that are going to be allowed here soon, things that people enjoy doing together, everything from bird watching, archery, to, like Aaron said, the more cocktail-oriented or garden parties and things like that. So that's the nice flexibility of having those options. And if you have donors who are big supporters of those different things, that makes it a lot easier to really organize those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a question here, Brandon.
Go ahead.
That someone asked. So are you finding that trips are still popular given COVID is causing issues with travel? They have been popular with our audience, but is anyone concerned about the ramifications if travel gets canceled and your buyer can't use the item?
So Aaron, I know you have some take on this too, but I would caution anyone, if you're putting a trip into an auction, into a raffle, or anything like that, make sure there's some flexibility with the usage of that. If there's a short time frame, if you had tickets to you can only go to Boston to see a game at Fenway Park in this time frame for this season. Well, the season's half over and it hasn't even really started yet. That's probably something you need to try and get more flexibility from your donor of that item before offering that up, because we can't predict things. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that that's going to be a positive experience for the donor, because we don't really know. And then the other side of it is trips are popular because we know historically that when they're in auctions, people want to experience those. There's just got to be some flexibility, and you need to put the terms out there so people understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing people include also that they can get a refund. If for whatever reason they can't use that trip by the expiration date, they're willing to offer a refund. And it's similar to what we saw earlier in the spring, where donors had already purchased tickets to a live event that was no longer happening. 99% of the time they were willing to just offer that up as a donation. So fortunately, we haven't seen that have to be the case so far for trips. They are still very popular, but that's an option as well.
And we always recommend trips should include experiences. So the silent auction study is a great resource to look at, and we'll talk about silent auctions here in a little bit. One of the unique things, and thing that we talked about very recently, is this chalk art contest that Reach for Resources came out with. And we're using this as an example again, because it's just one example of a way to be more competitive, incorporate a variety of donors, allow those that have their kids at home trying to find things to do, find ways to participate in something fun. So the chalk art contest, Reach for Resources is collecting submissions from all over the country. Anyone can participate, and the winner will be the one who gets the most votes. So all of the submissions are put on one site. Every vote is $1, and they're going to raise a good amount of money because there's all kinds of engagement. They've received over 100 submissions for this contest. And what's really cool is this is just one example of how they're engaging their donor base, but also people who are just trying to find new fun things to do. We have a team member who got really excited about this, and his niece is participating. So it's really a fun way to promote it on social, get the message out there. And Kelsey, I believe we have a link to the fun video that they shared to promote this that we'll drop into chat. But definitely think of ways people can vote and participate and compete, and do a storytelling contest, do all kinds of different things are out there that you could incorporate into a contest like this. Maybe it fits the theme of your organization. Maybe it's just a fun thing that you thought of on a random day, which is what the case was with Jason here. Speaking of kind of random ideas, one other thing that came up on one of our webinars was this selfie scavenger hunt, and we love this. It's such a good example of engaging your donors and having some fun while doing so. They didn't charge for this, but you certainly could charge a $5 participation, or even more if your donors had the appetite for something like that. But if you look through here, it's just a fun thing they put on social. It's an engagement thing. It's perfect for the summer. And then we also have the gratitude scavenger hunt, which was done by the Girl Scouts, which we talked about last week. We will share in the chat the link to the Outside the Room campaigns, but this is an example of creating something that is unique for your organization, but can really be applicable to anyone, and really just allows people to get out and do some stuff, maybe make a donation, but really support your cause and spread your message and your mission through social media. So we wanted to share those examples really quickly as well. And then as we look at text to donate, this is probably not foreign concept to most of you, but maybe the methodology that we're going to talk about is a little bit different. Text to donate today is a great way to differentiate your organization. I know just by standing here, I have probably 60 or 70 emails to my personal email that have come in from all kinds of different promotions and whatnot, and we know things get lost in the mix, and your message needs to stand out, and text messaging is one way to do that. We highly recommend texting for a reason, not just to communicate. So if your intention is to drive donations, talk about donations and the difference they make. If your intention is to get social engagement, direct people to the hashtag that you want them to use. Tell them about so this organization is talking about virtual cooking classes. Create that's going to resonate so people have a reason to engage. But text message has the highest open rate on the market. And if you don't abuse it and you use it in the right way, it has a high success rate. That's the nice thing to incorporate the messaging here. You can tag a video, you can tag a picture, different things like that as well. All right. And then here's just an example of using social. So this is from Hearts of Gold, using Instagram to kind of tell that same story. So they have what the $20 or $40 donation goes towards, what that supports, some different thank yous. The importance of thanking your donors, especially on social, as virtual communication is so unique right now. That's a great way to, again, get that recognition for them, and as well as really do that standout message rather than just another email or another letter in the mail. Kelsey, I'll let you take over here real quick.
Yeah, and so let's see. We've had some good questions coming in. Okay, so this is just a quick going back to the sign-up party. Is the sign-up party part of a silent auction, or is it an instant buy item?
Generally, it's an instant buy item because it's for the most part, it's a set price and a limited number of entries being sold.
Okay. And so, Erin, can you just sort of take us through, you guys, on just some of the touches of, we know that silent auctions are popular and how they're kind of working now in this virtual space?
Yeah, not a whole lot has changed with the silent auction. That's always been easy for folks to do from home or from anywhere, right on their cell phone. But we're seeing the need for things like summer homes and cottages that are a little bit more local. So really tap into your donors that might have something that they can offer up. I see all the time people are looking for where's somewhere 2 hours driving distance from Chicago that has a pool or a beach that I can rent for the weekend. So people are really eager to get out there. So use the time now to reach out to those people and see what's out there. I know we've had a couple of webinars where it's been mentioned, if you don't ask, you don't get. So things like that. And then, just other creative ideas. I think we have a slide on here, Brandon, if you want to flip to it, but using marquee signs. So with schools out for the summer, maybe reaching out to your local school, or if you are a local school, putting a message in the marquee sign in your silent auction or as an instant buy item. So maybe you want to do a birthday message or an anniversary message. Those are easy things that you can call and ask about.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move into our last section of hybrid fundraisers. And before we do that, just one other quick poll to get a feel for how many of you are familiar with a hybrid fundraiser. So never heard of it, but a little bit unclear. Yes, I know what a hybrid is. And yes, we are running one this year. So if everybody could weigh in on that, that would be great. And Brandon, in terms of a hybrid fundraiser, is this a new concept?
So I wouldn't say this is a new concept, maybe a new term for some people, but as we look at, for example, the virtual campaigns, a lot of these things had live components that were tied to them as well, creating that hybrid experience where maybe you were running your gala and you had people outside of the area who were supporting you. That's the concept of maybe hybrid style. So I don't think it's new. It's just kind of a twist on what people are used to experiencing, and we're trying to plan for something that is new in the new normal here.
Sure. Okay, so let's see these results, and what do you two make of it?
Heard of it, but unclear is pretty much what I expected. I don't know that this is a concept that people are avidly talking about in communities yet. Hybrid or blended or whatever the term is. I think it's exciting to chat through here and talk a little bit more about our webinar in July, which will be how to run a hybrid fundraiser, and that will really take a deeper dive. We're just going to give kind of a tease of some of the ideas here. So,
okay, cool. So how exactly then are we defining a hybrid fundraiser?
So if I don't click the slide too early, I can answer that. So hybrid fundraisers are really a blend of the live and virtual components. It's kind of the ability to allow for the restrictions that are potentially coming or that are already here in regards to live events. So if, for instance, you're only allowed to have 100 people in a gala room, but you used to have 500, how do you handle that? It's really the hybrid component, and really, something to incorporate the virtual stuff that we're talking about, while also having live components as well, and figuring that out. So we're going to dive into some examples that already exist and maybe could be combined, but that's kind of the essence of what a hybrid will look like here in the fall.
Yeah, and I think as we move forward with these hybrids and just fundraisers, in general, as we've all been, everybody's kind of rethinking these different things. Okay, what can we do? Because what we had planned isn't going to work. And so this is just a reminder that as we are running these hybrid fundraisers right now, it's a great way to be creative, stand out among, the other organizations in your area or ones that might be similar, and, still continue to fulfill your fundraising goals.
So
as we move into this, go ahead, Brendan.
I was just going to say, let me give a few examples of what we're talking about here. Some of these may be new ideas, some of these may be a mixture of what you've seen before, but one example is a hosted house party. So each house has its own quote unquote table that would have been at your gala. You can opt to sponsor a table, host it at your house, and have all your guests there. And then the virtual component is the video that you've typically done. Maybe it's more incorporated through text message and social media. And you can really engage folks with all the different components while they're still able to have some social components and social interaction with their friends that they were most often interacting with at your events anyways, which are their dinner mates. Getting together in groups and having some type of ticket value to have that. So, that sponsorship or sponsored table allows you to at least collect some of that entry revenue. And hosting the dinner outside this time of year, nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful out. At least today it is here in Chicago. We all know that might change, but we'll take it. Erin, can you tell us a little bit about golf tournaments?
Yeah, golf tournaments obviously aren't a new concept, but we are seeing that more of this hybrid approach where golf outings are starting to take place with social distancing rules. So we're already seeing some live golf outings happening, but we're also seeing the offer to participate online. So maybe that you are still paying a smaller registration fee, and maybe you're sending those golfers some swag from a distance and still encouraging them to participate in your auction or raffle or hole-in-one contest, whatever it may be. There's certainly ways that you can include everybody, that's taking place in person and maybe just golfing on their own with their friends.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We're starting to see some of these where people are moving the golf tournament to be kind of a grab your foursome together, or, here's a few foursomes that are in the area kind of thing. So that's exciting. Next, we're going to talk about an idea that we're kind of calling the music stroll. So where you have various performances around town, similar to kind of like a festival you would see in Chicago, where people are performing throughout the event, but a little bit more spread out. You have varying locations. You have alternate set times. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. So people will be able to see everything throughout the day, and then finally you can also have the key part, which is tickets and donations. Maybe there's some food options at each location. You sell merchandise. You do a different raffle at each one. Different ways to drive some fundraising there.
Yeah, and I have a question, Brandon, that came in. So I guess this is either for Brandon or Erin, for a hybrid event, what ways would you suggest including a live auction portion into the event?
So I think I can take a stab at that one, and then Erin, feel free to jump in as well. But one way is you look at hybrid and what's going on. We see that maybe there is an exclusivity to your live auction where there's certain donors who would participate in your live auction, and those are the ones that are maybe in the room, quote unquote. You have the ability to fundraise in that manner and engage those types of donors. So that's one suggestion. And Erin, feel free to add to that.
Yeah, you could also do, if you still wanted to do that live and include those that might be at a distance, you could do something like a proxy bidder, where perhaps you're reaching out to those folks in advance and showing them everything that will be offered in the live auction. And then if there is interest, you can have somebody bid on their behalf. But it's really about figuring out, who are those people that are going to be in person, and those that for one reason or another might have to be doing it from home, and making sure that we're including them.
Yeah, totally. Okay, great. Well, thank you. Now we're going to move on to the takeaways. So just to sort of wrap that up, so we had live campaigns, virtual campaigns, hybrid campaigns, and our three biggest takeaways are going to be, number one, to know your audience and the group of donors that you're targeting with each fundraiser. If you can give those specific donors what they're interested in, then you'll be able to better grasp their engagement throughout. Number two, find ways to be creative and stand out with the campaigns that you choose to run. So give donors an experience they haven't done before, and continue to make it exciting. And lastly, number three, continue to foster community. Now more than ever, we might be feeling a bit disconnected from our neighbors. So it's important to find ways in these fundraisers to connect your donors and remind them that they are part of that community. And so let's see, now we are at the end with any questions. Let's just double check to see if we have any further questions. One final question has come in that we will address right before we reach time. How do you keep a music stroll live, keeping large gatherings down?
So a great way is to manage your set times, and knowing obviously the RSVPs, you can balance those out, spreading out throughout your community. So if you have a few performance centers or outdoor centers that are a little bit further away, you can do that, and also managing the number of people who are allowed to go. So maybe there's 100 tickets that you can sell, and then everyone else can attend virtually for a fee or for a donation as well. So you can still have people who want to see, but maybe couldn't get in that exclusive group.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Fabulous, everybody. If you submitted further questions that we didn't get to, we will get back to you directly. Otherwise, thank you so much for participating. As previously mentioned, on July 22nd, we're going to have another webinar that's going to go into an even deeper dive of hybrid fundraisers. So July 22nd at noon Central. And we look forward to hearing about your fundraising success in the coming months. So please don't hesitate to share them with us. Additionally, on every Thursday, we've been having part of our Outside the Room series, fundraisers, each with different organizations that join us to share their stories of recent fundraising successes, maybe also like what they tried that didn't work. They've been really great, and we have been really enjoying hosting those. You can look out for those typically on Thursdays. And lastly, if you have 30 seconds before you leave today, please do fill out our survey at the end of the webinar so we can tailor our future webinars to things that you're interested in. And huge thank you to Brandon and Erin for joining us today. Thank you to everybody who came, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone, and please reach out if there's further things we can help with.
Bye.